I want to say a few. Let me say a few things. Okay, if you did not see this, we had an Edison event this Saturday in Germany. It was an IRL Edison event. And we did something that I did not think was possible. We had over 200 players, IRL in person, gather in Karlsruhe for an IRL Edison tournament. And that was very, very hype. It was very cool to see how many people showed up. Some people even, the craziest story I heard was some people traveling 7 hours for the event, which was impressive to see. Like, really, really glad that so many people made their way to the tournament. I thought it was a great experience. I personally will say that I have never, or like, I haven't had this much fun in a tournament in like a very long time. And that isn't because I don't enjoy current Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just because I just enjoy this particular way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So much. Because it really reminds me of basically my entire childhood. Where we had a bunch of Swiss rounds, and then we had a top 16 cut, and like first place got a PlayStation 5, which is, if you didn't know this is how Yu-Gi-Oh! Was played back in the day. We didn't have no regionals, we didn't have no YCSs. We had nationals once a year, but for 99% of my childhood, the way we played was just drive to a random place where not Konami was hosting those tournaments. It was just the community, basically, like random store owners, whoever wanted to, just hosted a tournament, threw up a just put up a some console for first place, and we would all just go there, play like 8 rounds of Swiss, top 16. First place gets a console, everyone goes home, and that was exactly what we had. And we don't really have this anymore, right? We just don't have that anymore. We only really have regionals and YCSs, I feel like. Nothing else really, at least in Europe. Maybe NA still has it, but we don't really have it anymore. We don't really do that anymore, at least not that I'm aware of. I don't know why. I guess it's because we have regionals every weekend anyway, so like no one really bothers in Europe. But I just enjoyed that so much. And on top of that, I also just felt like the vibe was like just so nice throughout the entire event, because like no one went there to just like get some worlds points or to get their invite to some other event. It was genuinely just like everyone was just there trying to have a good time. And it was, I thought it was very wholesome. And just like there was a very cool mix also of people that only play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But have never even played Edison, right? Nico, for example, told me he was there because he lives close, and he's never played Edison before, but just came there just for the fun of it. And some people there was a lot of people actually that really surprised me. There's a lot of people that said, yeah, I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, like modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I play old formats, right? And I think it is gonna be more and more popular to also have different formats of Yu-Gi-Oh! We have incredible attendance numbers at YCSs, right? But that's a lot of people that enjoy modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But now think of all the people that would also play Yu-Gi-Oh! If there were official tournament scenes for old formats. Like, think of the number of people that don't play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it is too complicated for them, or too expensive, or too complex, or whatever, or too fast. Think of all those people. Like, how many? There's so many. I feel like I think it's weird, champ, to be honest, kind of, that there is so many possible ways you can enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! like actually so many different ways, you know, like cubing, old formats, Time Wizard, whatever, right? And there's only one actual way, right? It's hard to organize all that, yeah, but like we're trying to. I think this was a good precedent for. This was a good precedent that it is possible, right? I mean, 200 people is no joke for an IRL tournament, right? I don't think that was something that was I didn't believe it personally. I didn't think we would fill the entire venue, but we did, and that was pretty cool. Anyways, I don't want to ramble about Edison too much today. I'm just quickly going to show you my deck that I played. And also, if you want to watch any of the coverage of the event, the entire thing is already up on the Joshua Schmidt Plus channel. So every single round is already up. If you want to catch up on the event, if you missed it, if you want to look into Edison, if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you are interested, you can check out the Plus channel. It has all the feature matches already. If you don't know, the Plus channel is the one where I put all the stream highlights and all the reactions. So if you didn't know about this channel, you want to type !YouTube into this chat real quick and subscribe. It also has all the feature matches. So there's that. And the deck that I personally liked to play or elected to play for this event was this deck. This, whatever you want to call it. Quickdraw Hero is what I called it for the stream, which was a lot of fun to play. I love that deck. I just whipped it up on Friday night. I think it's cool. I just want to say a few things about this deck because I always see people like discussing the stuff in like Edison groups. I'm on the Edison Discord and I see people discussing stuff all the time. I play this deck not because I think it's the best deck in the format, because I'm convinced that it's not. I play this deck because I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the playstyle of Quickdraw a lot, and I just think it's the most fun. And I think that's the beauty of Edison, is that you don't have to play Zombies or Blackwing or Vayu Turbo if you want to do well, because that's not how it was back then. Back then, the way you built your deck and the way you played your deck, I think, is way more important than which deck you're actually choosing. Of course, there's decks that are better than others, but in Edison particularly, you can just play so many different things and they're all fine if you know what you're doing. And this deck in particular, I think, is one of the best examples of that. I will say one thing. I actually hate Quickdraw. I'm trying to cut Quickdraw from this deck. I love Quickdraw, the deck. I hate Quickdraw, the card. Whenever I commit into Quickdraw Drill, it feels so much like an overcommitment, and it's so slow at winning the game. It's so slow at winning the game. You have to worry about so many things. Like when you make the Quickdraw, when you make the Drill Warrior, you have to be worried about like Bottomless, Torrential, all those things. Book of Moon. It's really annoying. And then when it comes back every turn, you also have to be aware, like you're not even doing damage if you're playing around cards like Deep Prison and Mirror Force. It's so hard to position with Drill Warrior. The rest of this deck I freaking love. You know, I'm in love with Raikou, Hamster, Caius, Debris, Dandy, like all this stuff. Avarice, dude. Avarice is probably my favorite card in Edison. I love everything about this deck except for Quickdraw. If there's a way to make this deck playable without Quickdraw, I'm gonna be trying that, but I haven't found it just yet. Also, I'll say one thing: you will never catch me playing Titanial. You'll never see me play Titanial. It won't happen. It's not happening. I'm not putting that card into my deck because that card is in my hand every time. Not happening. Taro, thank you for the 7 months. Appreciate you. Was TTH worth it? I think TTH is a really good card, and I think there is, in a deck like this where I wanted to play a large monster count, to make sure, like, basically the idea is that cards like Raikou, Card Trooper, and Charge of the Light Brigade have, like, they have very high, like, basically I love Avarice, right? I love Avarice, but I want to make sure Avarice is live as fast as possible. And I think cards like Charge, Card Trooper, and Raikou are really good at doing that if you play high monster counts. Because if you flip a Raikou, or if they attack a Raikou, right? You're popping a card, so you're trading 1 for 1. But if you mill monsters to make Avarice live, you're actually going +1. And if you have Dandy or Treeborn in your deck, you always have a chance at going super plus, right? And the same is true for Charge. Charge adds Raikou, which is it's just a Rhoda for Raikou that has the benefit of filling Avarice and maybe hitting Treeborn or Dandy. So I think there's no reason not to play Charge. And Trooper is also just nice, right? That being said, this deck should have as many monsters as possible while still being somewhat consistent. And I think if you play a deck like that, you shouldn't play that many trap cards. And when you don't play many trap cards, I think Treacherous is just the most efficient. It's the most efficient card. I think it's better than playing like just a couple Wing Blasts or just Torrential or just Trap Dust Shoot. I think Treacherous is the best trap on like by card. If I have one slot for a trap card, it's always Treacherous, I think. I don't think the other cards come close. Because Treacherous is the only trap you can hold in your hand until your opponent has a board. And like that's the one thing you can't do with Torrential. Like if I have Torrential, I have to set it for it to do work and it exposes it to removal. Whereas if my opponent summons a monster or 2 monsters, I can just set Treacherous after and that just does the job, right? I don't think I've ever set Treacherous turn 1. Doesn't this also out Gores if it's set up correctly? Yes, like very often when you have Treacherous, you can just ignore Gores because you can just like attack, and if they have Gores, you set Treacherous after, and it's like, it's cute. I think there's little downside to playing Treacherous in a deck that doesn't want to play many traps anyways, but it's also just like how I like to play the deck. I also like the other like trap cards. I like them, but yeah. But yeah, I'm still trying to find a way to not play Quickdraw Synchron. Yeah. The hero package was really cool. I don't really see how you get to your Miracle Fusion. What do you mean, get to your Miracle Fusion? It's like, the reason I'm playing cards like Chaos Sork and Miracle Fusion is I think Quickdraw has a problem with... Quickdraw has this problem where it's very reliant on normal summons, right? And I really like giving the deck additional pushes with cards that just special summon a huge threat, right? I think Chaos Sorcerer and Miracle Fusion, like, when you fall behind with Quickdraw, your deck becomes really slow. And, like, you can't really just, like, set a Hamster or set a Raikou when your opponent already has a lot of pressure on you. So I think having a couple bombs in your deck that speed up your deck in that circumstance, I think is really good. And the one Miracle Fusion was only dead in my hand, like, once or twice, because you have Stratos, Alias, Plasma, and Rhoda, which is 4 ways, 5 with Future Fusion, 5 ways to your hero cards in the graveyard, and you mill cards. So the Miracle Fusion is almost always live, and you don't always need a water for it. You don't always need a water for it, because this is actually genuinely just also an okay card. Like, I've won 2 or 3 games by just finishing them off with Gaia. That's fine. Gaia is a fine card.